we going today? All the way there. Let's go. Hey everybody, happy today, happy Saturday, happy Mother's Day weekend, whatever it is that you're doing. Happy today. It's a beautiful day to just celebrate life, and here we are in the moment together. Thank you for waking up and sharing this moment this morning with me. If you are new here, welcome. If you are recurring, you always are here, welcome back. Okay, today we're going to talk about a woman in the Bible. She's not talked about a lot, but well, actually I don't think I've ever really too much heard about her. But I was going to God, asking God about talking about somebody different in the Bible, and this is who came to my mind. So we're going to be talking about Tamar, not Tamar, King David's daughter. We're going to be talking about Tamar in Genesis. She is dropped smack dead in the Bible scriptures in between the stories of Joseph. She somehow made history, and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of why she made it into that one passage, that one chapter in the Bible. It's good morning, Agnes. How are you? We're going to get to it. Let's talk about it, because I have to get all of this done in 19 minutes. So the story of Tamar is it's an unorthodox story. It's very layered, and it's honestly a misunderstood story. And it is not a neat nor polished story. It is very unorthodox, and it seemed like something that could possibly be on reality TV, in my opinion. But it's uncomfortable. It's messy and it's bold. But that is exactly what makes this story a very powerful story to me. So let's talk about it. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the room. Um, Tamar, this story is kind of crazy. And it'll kind of have you shifting a little bit with some of the things that happen. But let's get into it. I'm going to be reading from my notes because I did not want to leave anything out of this story. So, beneath this story of betrayal and scandal and a dysfunction, it is a powerful message about injustice, courage, and just refusing to stay silent. Now, how many times do we stay silent, even though we know something is due ours or whatever? We stay silent because for whatever reason, we don't want to be the one who is divisive or just shake some feathers in the room. So sometimes we just fall back and just accept what has been given to us. But in this story, she did not. She did not accept that. So Tamar was promised, she was married into Judah's family. And after her husband died, which we really don't know why he died, it just say that God took him. He was a very wicked man. That's basically what it says. But she was passed to the son Onan. Well, he didn't want to give her his child because in the way that the laws were back then, he knew that that child would not be his. So he would use her for pleasure, and he would, according to the Bible, spill his seed on the floor because he was just not, he didn't want to give her the child. So he later died because he didn't do what God told him to do. So God basically removed him from this earth. That's just a better way to put it. But after he died, Judah withheld the third son because in those times, to stay in the lineage of the family, you pass them down to the sons so those children can be in the lineage of the family, and that's who your covering and your protection is. That's where your security and provision is promised through that family that you are given to. Good morning, Rachel. Good morning. So even though So after he died, Judah withheld the third son, and she was widowed again and childless. Okay, she so let's get into the story. That was just some backlash. So she was promised security and provision through her family line, but those promises were ignored. Judah decided, I'm not giving you my third son. So he told her that he would, but he decided not to because, hey, I lost two sons to this woman. I'm not giving my third son to you. So she found out later in time that he had visited a place, and she said she was told that, hey, your father-in-law is visiting this place. So she disguised herself and decided that she was going to go there as a prostitute. Okay, now Judah's wife had recently died, and I guess it was known for them to go and find prostitutes at this time. So when she disguised herself, she deceived Judah. And of course, he approaches her just as her plan is going, and he decides to sleep with her, to take her on as this prostitute. And he promises her a goat for payment. Well, she said, hey, I'm gonna need some collateral. You promised me this goat, but I want to make sure that you get this goat to me. So I'm gonna need your bracelet, your cord, and your staff, which was a signet, which was an indication of holding power and status during that time. So he's like, okay, here, I'll be back to collect it. He sends a man to pay her the goat, but when the person comes back, they say, hey, we can't find her. She's no the woman that you sent this goat to, we can no longer find her. Well, he said whatever. He decided, okay, well, she just don't get the goat. Okay. Anyway, it's later discovered that Tamar is the woman that he had decided to be with. Okay. And when he finds this information out, he decides he's going to have her burned. Now, you got some nerve going out to try to find a prostitute, and then you're going to decide that you're going to have this woman burned. Anyway, that's what he decided. So when he decided to have her burned, he put in a call for her. She comes, and while she's standing there, they say, "Good morning, Gina." Um, she says, okay, I have these things, the cord, the staff, and the bracelets. Who do these belong to? So that was her collateral. Okay. She was kind of smart when you really think about it. And she wanted to claim her lineage and have her kids. She wanted to be taken care of, and she wanted to ensure her future. So Judah looks, and at this point, he can't really say anything because it's what she did. So then Judah says, she is more righteous than I. I promised her my son and I did not deliver. She wanted to ensure her future, and that's what she did. She did not stay back. She did not lay low. She said, this is what was promised to me. When you think about this story, it's just so like, it's just a lot of deception. He promised, he didn't deliver. She deceived so she could stay in the family lineage. And it's just messy. But what stands out about this story is she did not quietly disappear. When people failed her, she pursued what was righteously hers, even in a culture where women had very little voices. That says a lot during that time because she had to take matters into her own hands. And here's the powerful part about that. Despite the messiness of the story, God still used Tamar in the lineage of Jesus Christ because Bible scholars have made it known that she is part of Jesus' lineage. Okay. God still has a plan regardless. And sometimes you think about you mess so much up in life. I know for me, I'm speaking for myself. You think like I could have did this different. I thought I heard this. I don't. But sometimes stories aren't always the polished stories, the ones that I never did drugs. I never did this. Those aren't always the stories. Sometimes some stories are messy, but God still will work in your favor. That means that whatever your story is, it does not disqualify you. The betrayal, the rejection, the uncomfortable chapters of your life, God can still use it for his purpose. When I said tell you that this spoke to me, because I feel like there are some things that I have just really messed up in life, and I look at the way sometimes that God speaks to me, and I'm like, but he's never forsaken me. And if anybody want to go back to the story and read it for themselves, that is the passage. You can go back and read. It is literally one chapter long. She was dropped right there in the middle. But this also made me think of Psalms 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and save the crushed in spirit. She was hurting because she knew that her future was not going to be locked in. He sent her off after that second son died, and she basically was just there, just waiting and hoping that he was going to deliver his promise, that she would have a future and be secure in her life. But he lied to her. So Romans 28:28, we know that all things work together for the good of them that love God, to them that are called according to his purpose. God still took that messy story and he made it something positive, because in that, two sons were born, Perez and I believe Zerah. I believe I wrote the names down. But this is what I want you to know. No matter what your story look like, no matter what you've been through, no matter how messy it is, no matter how much people say you aren't this, you aren't that, God still has his hands on you, and he can still use you in the most beautiful ways. Whatever it is that he decides to do with your story is your story to tell. And people who may have feel forgotten, or they feel like they've been alienated, shunned, or just shameful, just shameful, you don't have to feel that way. God can take any mess and turn it into a blessing. It is later discovered that not only is she in the lineage of Jesus Christ, but her sons go off to be powerful people to rule nations. And you can read that story. That's in the book of Matthew. It'll talk about that a little bit. But this story does teaches you to not stay silent just because other people are uncomfortable. Sometimes we have a hard time telling our stories because we do not want to make other people feel uncomfortable. But it's your story. It's your story. And God sees you even when people overlook you, even when people judge you for who they thought that you were. You know, all of us have a past. And I've even had sometimes people may have felt some type of way about who I was in the past. That's no longer who I am. I did have a messy story. I had a messy life at one point. And that's why this story resonated with me so much, because she took matters into her own hands to secure what God had promised her, what was promised to her in her future. So I just want to remind everybody today, I don't care what your story is. I don't care what you've been through. If God put his hands on you and has called you, or God has given you a purpose, God has elevated you, God has taken you to a new level, do not allow society to hold you back, to keep you quiet, to silence you, to make you feel that you are less than, because that is not who God created you to be. God created each and every one of us with purpose. He gave each and every one of us, we all have our own stories to share. And even though your story may not be a polished story, like I because sometimes you hear some people tell testimonies and they're like, oh, I never did that. I went to college and then I got married and then we bought a house and then we had these beautiful children. Our kids are doing well. And those are beautiful stories. They really are. But it's not everybody's story. Some people's stories are just downright messy and unorthodox, just like this one. So God can still use you. He can still take you, give you all the wonderful things that He has promised you. You do not have to feel ashamed. You do not have to feel broken. Um, some healing has been done and continues. Thank you, Lord, for your grace. Amen. Because God's grace is wonderful. And I just want to remind you on this day, in this short time, I would really encourage you guys to read the story for yourself. But your story does not it define you, but it will help other people cross when they felt like they were ashamed of what they've been through. They can see what God has done in your life. Man, I'm gonna tell you, if I can tell y'all some of the stories that I have been through, that I have created for myself, that I really did not sometimes have to create, but through trial and error, here I am and here I stand. I'm doing what God has called me to do. And guess what? He is still using me. You are not unfit. So do not be ashamed of where you have been. And that's what I want you guys to remember today. Your story is your story, but God can take your story and use it for good and bless people who will need it. So just like Tamar ensured her future, it was evil and it was wicked the way she got it done, but she made sure that she got it done. And look what God did for her. She She's part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. Usually it is the stories that have drama and mess that shows the glory and might of God. He can use anyone he chooses. Absolutely he can, and he do, and he will, and he has. And he has. So I see you guys over on Instagram too. Thank you guys for joining in. And woo, ashamed no more. Don't walk in any more shame. Hold your head up. And like this one influencer that I absolutely love, hold your head up, put your shoulders back, and you keep walking forward. God can use anybody. So it is Mother's Day weekend. I want you all to have the most amazing Mother's Day. If you are not a mother just yet, I'm sure you have some nieces and friends, kids that you can shower some love on. And if you are believing for children, we are believing God with you um, to open those wombs in the name of Jesus. So remember that your story may not necessarily make it to the Bible, but it definitely will be a story that will help somebody. And that's what we are focused on, is getting our story out there, making sure that people know that God can still use them even in their mess. So I thank everybody for tuning in. Happy Mother's Day, mommies and aunties. Thank you, Nikki. And next week we will have my sister, and I'm gonna tell y'all, she got a brilliant story. I have another sister. I call her my sister. She's not my biological sister. She has a beautiful story, and then I have my mom coming up on in the rear with the beautiful story. So I want you guys to come on every week. I'll actually, for the month of May and June, I'll be here every Saturday, and then we'll go back to normal routine in July. But until then, you all have the most amazing day. Thank you. Thank you. You all have the most amazing day. And you remember, Tamar story might be messy, but God still blessed her in spite of. Thank you. You guys remember that. Happy Saturday. Happy Mother's Day. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.